Franchising is an absolute journey. And behind each of these journeys is an amazing story, amazing founders, franchisors, new franchisors. If they succeed, when they succeed, it's because there's a mission. And today we're going to speak with Ty McBride, new franchisor, Preservan, and we're going to talk about the story. Ty, I'm looking forward to this conversation because, you know, on LinkedIn, I see you working hard. I see your amazing looking brand. I see you trying to do and executing at a high level in terms of from outside looking in. You enter the franchise space, you're delivering value, you're focusing on attracting like-minded franchisees. I think you're doing an amazing job, and I think it's great we get to connect today.
Well, thank you, Charles. I'm excited to be a part of this. I'll have to give you a lot of credit. I have been a huge fan of what this channel has done and the FranX channel as well. And so I've used a lot of this content to help me and our team develop our brand.
I appreciate that. So Ty, just for everyone, let's talk about Preservan. Let's talk about where you're at, what the business is about, where you are at right now in your franchise journey. I know you've sold a couple of franchises, and then we could go backwards from there.
Yeah, so we began our franchise journey beginning of 2021. We kind of began the process, and then by the end of 2022, November, we had all of our our manuals completed, our FDD completed, and we started franchising. I will say that we were already kind of working in the background, talking to my business connections and colleagues about what we were doing. And then, so we, basically franchised November 2022 and had our first franchise from Tulsa or in Tulsa come directly out of our corporate location. And then we're now working very hard right now on launching our Orlando location, which will open up. Grand opening the second week of July is our grand opening for Orlando.
I mean, great momentum, and we'll talk more. What I love about what you're doing is you're focusing on your brand assets, and doing something genuine. Ty, just generally, what does Preservan do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we repair wood rot, right? So wood rot is a natural thing. It's caused by fungus. There's almost nothing you can do to prevent it. In home service and homes, it's almost it's a very commonly used product, especially on the exterior. Wood gets wet, it rots. It's just the way that it works. But we kind of take an interesting spin on that, and it's something we've developed over the last 7 years. Is we use a proprietary epoxy system to repair that wood rot. So rather than a homeowner having to go through the headache and hassle of replacing a wood window, door, or beyond, we can come in with our epoxy system, repair that rot in a few hours, save them tens of thousands of dollars and all the headache and hassle of a common renovation project.
And so for your franchisees, home-based business, right? Or can
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah.
Right, low startup costs. And then I think what's interesting, I always find interesting service businesses that I didn't know they exist, but when I hear about them, I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, so it's a low startup cost. It's home based. We do everything out of the back of a Kia Soul. That's one of the things I love about it, because I'm sure we'll talk about this more, but kind of at our core of our brand are affordable, convenient, sustainable. And not only is that what we try to offer to what we call our neighbors, our customers, but it's also what we try to offer to our franchisees. We want them in something that's affordable, convenient, sustainable. So the entire business operates out of the back of a Kia Soul. So there's no trips to the hardware store. Everything is right there for them to get the job done at 30 miles to the gallon.
A little while ago, I was on your website. I was watching a couple of videos, right? And I think I saw a video. You were on a stage and you're talking about a social issue, which is going to be the lack of craftsmen and contractors, which I agree with. And then there was another video, I think it was with your family. You may have been in your living room. Looks like a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Focusing on the most important things or the more important things in life, tell me what's going on. How did the business come about? How has it impacted your family? tell me what's going on, and like, what's that motivation there? What's going on? I mean, outward, and we'll talk about it later. Like, I'm a sucker for brands. I love your branding. Love your,
Thank you.
but there's so much more. But hey, so what's powering all that? You know, I see that video with your family. What's going on in your mind? How did you create the business? What are you thinking about when you start franchising, and what's powering you?
Yeah, man. Wow. There's a lot there. So I'll kind of go back to the, not all the way to the beginning, but go kind of back to the beginning. Uh, in 2014, I had just, my family are home builders, contractors. I've been in this my entire life, and they built homes in Moore. And I don't know, Moore, Oklahoma. If you've ever seen Moore on the news, you know it's because tornadoes plow through there every few years. And so my grandfather started building houses in 1972 in Moore, and that's where I got my start. I got my start cleaning up job sites after the 99 tornado. And I was burnt out from the 2013 tornado. I was working in the family business. We had rebuilt over 20 houses that had been damaged by the tornado. We had restored another 50 houses following the tornado, and I was really burnt out. But at the same time, my wife was pregnant with our twin boys, Jameson and Charlie. And when they were born, so there's all this transition going. I'm wanting to start off on my own, do my own thing, tired of home building. And at the same time, my wife is pregnant. We're going to have these twins. We already have 4 daughters, by the way. So we already have a full household. But now we're going to add 2 more. And my son, Charlie, was born with some medical complications. And at the time, my wife and I had just finished this beautiful, brand new home in a suburb that was way outside of town. It was really great. It was on a nice piece of property. But our sons were born. Jameson was, healthy, but Charlie had some medical issues that were going to require us to be really pretty close to the hospital for a while. We didn't know how long. And that led, so we were spending so much time in the children's hospital, which is kind of in the downtown core of Oklahoma City. And, it just, some things happen. And my wife and I decided we just wanted to make a radical change in our life. We wanted to create a business together that would help us be close to the hospital, because we didn't know how long we were going to be here, but was also going to give us the flexibility of time. Because, I worked in the family business. It wasn't my business. So I was kind of, I was an employee. And so we wanted something kind of, we could control our time. So I could take off when I needed to take off for surgeries and different things like that. So we started a little company called Wood Window Rescue. And Wood Window Rescue just did that. So the Children's Hospital is located kind of in that historic core of Oklahoma City, all these old houses. And I became aware that there was all these wood windows that were rotting away. They didn't work very well, and nobody could repair them. And because they were historically protected, they couldn't be replaced. And so we started a little business out of, this is the common story. We started a little business out of our garage, sold the big house in the suburbs, and rented a 100-year-old house, downtown, and started up. And that was kind of the journey. And we're so blessed because by 2016, Charlie had his final surgery, and we haven't been to we haven't really been to the hospital since. And so, but that's kind of the journey of how we get here to where I'm at today.
Yeah, well, thank God for Charlie. And
Thank you.
it never surprises me that there's always some passion, and like, we're all building businesses, and entrepreneurship is such an amazing journey, but it's powered by families and doing things. And yeah, by the way, our building's from 1900 something, and we have these single pane wood windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, there's just so much there, Ty, right? The flexibility, the family. So you start the business. So what happens next? Where did things start clicking and say, hey, I may want to franchise. I want to improve, change the lives of others, franchisees. And let's talk about that journey. What's that like? What was the thought process? What could you share? Because people watching this are going to be franchisors, and franchise buyers, and it's important. It's an important part of the journey.
Yeah. So right. So I think early on, somebody, and I can't recall who, they deserve a lot of credit. They handed me, it's my mentor. He handed me the E-Myth, and
Oh,
I read the E-Myth early on, and I think in the E-Myth it talks about having a franchise-like structure. Now, I wasn't really thinking about franchising, but I was thinking about having a franchise-like structure. And I am a huge fan of podcasts. I listen to all the big ones, How I Built This, all of them. And so
mhm.
I was trying to dive in. I was like, okay, franchise-like structure, what does that look like? And I came across some podcasts that were kind of about that topic and I just started listening to them and kind of consuming that information. And so really kind of the light bulb went off in 2017, 2018. I wonder if we could franchise this business. Now, mind you, at this point in time, we are Wood Window Rescue and we restore historic wood windows. It's an incredibly complicated process. It is so detailed. There's a lot to it, and we had done so much work to develop manuals so we could train people on how to do this incredibly complicated work. And so, one of the podcasts I was listening to was hosted by a franchise attorney like yourself. And I gave him a call and I told him all about my business. And he said, Ty, that is an amazing business. I love it. You cannot franchise that. And I said, I tried to, I kind of, argued a little bit with him. And he said, well, give it a shot. And I gave it a shot to expand a little bit outside of my market. And it did not work. He was absolutely right. It was not franchisable. It was just very awesome business. And I'm on the board of the Window Preservation Alliance, an organization that we support entrepreneurs doing this nationwide as far as restoring historic properties, but it was not a franchisable business. And so myself and my business partner, who's my brother-in-law, my wife's little brother, we went back to the drawing board and said, we've got this really cool business. We've got this really cool client base. We've got these really cool manuals. Like we've like documented this whole process. How can we pull a franchisable business kind of like the E-Myth out of organization we have? And that was 2020. I remember having we have this huge whiteboard and we had all these different services that we could do. And it was a huge idea. And my business partner came in and he said, Ty, what kind of business would we have if you could fit it in the smallest possible car out there? And we marked a bunch of things off and landed on wood rot repair. It's not just for historic homes. Everybody's got wood on their houses. Wood is always rotting. We have an awesome way to help people save money and fix it. It just was a no-brainer. We pulled that out and we built a brand around it.
It's a beautiful brand. And again, it's an industry, as we're speaking, I could think of 5 things that are building here, right? But so Ty, and then where I think so many people go wrong, right? So we work with so many emerging franchisors, and one of my biggest concerns, and our clients, they're brand builders, they have special things going, but what breaks my heart is when I see someone enter the franchise space. Either they may have done it for the wrong reason or without full information. Someone maybe made franchise sales sound easy. I think that's the biggest thing. I'll get a call, and one of the most difficult ones I had was this wonderful young woman, beautiful restaurant she built, and she's like, well, I worked with this development company and they said they sell, and it's a year and a half later, I haven't sold anything. And the unfortunate part was she wasn't ready. We looked at the unit economics, but then you have other businesses that are ready, but they find franchise sales difficult, which it is. And then what I find is, and that's why we have our FranX podcast, and they're not focusing on themselves, their brand, their story, delivering value. And so they have a difficult time on the journey. And now outside looking in, from what I can see is you've like fully embraced this role of, hey, the best thing about a great product or service, you believe in it, it's genuine, and you know you're going to help other lives, right? So you go head in. So I see you on LinkedIn. I've been on your website, watched a couple of videos. You're doing all the right things, right? So what's some of the advice? Again, nothing's ever perfect. what's advice you have for other franchisors that are starting, or some franchisors that haven't initiated the journey yet, but are about to?
Well, and so my first advice, and I think it's, some Stephen Covey advice, right? Begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
I think that's something that was really critical for us when we put that on the board. Another thing that my business coach handed me and my mentor was Built to Sell, walked us through Strategic Coach. So these types of things. So we kind of went into this idea that we're building this for this cause, and so it was a process of stripping away things that were not going to be sustainable, things that were not going to be scalable. We have, like I said, we had this really cool business before that really served our community, but there were elements of it that weren't going to be sustainable and scalable for a franchise. And so one was just to be really honest with ourselves and go through that pruning process to get rid of things that just aren't going to make sense on a wide scale. That was one of the first things. And the other is, I think that the education process, for me, like I said, it began with the podcast, the books. There's a big book I bought on Amazon. It's like franchising and licensing. And I just kind of dove into that. It was very, technical and kind of textbook style, but really that education process. And what I'm so grateful for and thankful for is that when I started this process, I was able to discern good information, good advice from bad advice, because, and I won't give names, but I will tell you, I talked from 2017 when we kind of first had this idea to when we brought it and really kind of started to close in on it in late 2020, early 2021, was we talked to the development companies, the consultants, I talked to a lot of people. And it's so crazy how often, especially with the first brand, because I started talking to people before that as well, how often I was told, yeah, no, it's so easy. You can totally do it. It's just going to cost $50, $60, $100,000. We're going to package it all up for you. And then everybody's just going to start running in. And that was not the way. It's not the way that it works. It's not that you can't find success. And I think that I'm proud of the success we're finding, but it's through good, solid advice from our franchise attorney that we ultimately selected, and great channels like yours, where we were able to get like honest information being, slow, you want to grow at a reasonable rate. So don't buy into this like you're going to blow up overnight and get,
Right. Right.
I have a 100-unit goal. Of course I have a 100-unit goal. Like, I'm building this for a reason. But I realize that, I need to break that 100 down into years and months and weeks. And what are the little things that I have to do? So I think it's just finding good information. And the other is, as I said, kind of, we got into this, anybody you listen to about raising money, raising capital will tell you, like, investors want to see that your friends and family were interested in getting in business with you before this. And franchising is just it's a way of raising capital to grow your business. You're going to grow your business through the capital of others. And so I kind of buy into it's the same thing. If I can't get my friends and family to believe in me, and if my business if I'm not as passionate about it, that I won't convince my friends and family to get into it with me, then I probably should kind of rethink it. So if I can't get, I kind of figured right out of the gate, if I can't get 5 to 10 people that I know or I'm connected with through LinkedIn or other social media channels or personal channels, then I probably don't have a good idea. And so that was kind of always a litmus test for me is, how interested is my banker? How interested are my friends? How interested are my business connections in what I'm doing?
Yeah, there's so much good advice there, Ty. I think for anyone watching, right, if you're about to franchise your business, you're a franchisor, one thing I discuss with our clients all the time is what creates a great franchise system and a winning system is the founders and the leadership team. And there's a commonality there. I've seen our clients go from one location to 100. And while I love to play a role in the journey, it's always because that founder is intent on learning, getting involved in the industry, to keep pushing. And to your point, you have to look at least at a minimum with a 5-year plan. I love all the things you're mentioning from eMyth, and here we're we're very devoted to traction and EOS and our weekly meetings and our quarterly planning. And when we started that years ago, I mean, it just transforms everything. So to your point, Ty, which is, I think, foundational, begin with the end in mind. 5 years from now, what does success look like? What do unit economics look like for successful franchisees? And what will it take to get there? And for sure, begin organically, right? Which is people that know you, people that know your brand. I think that's great stuff. Ty, if you reflect, and again, what do you hope 5 years from now when you're speaking with franchisees, what transformation or role you play in their lives?
Well, ultimately, the role I hope I played is the role I was able to play in my own life. And I envision our role as a franchisor is to collect all of this great experience that I've had and all of these great relationships that I've built over time that I was gifted from my grandfather, who was in the home building business. So I always say I'm kind of like standing on the shoulders of giants, where I have all of these resources that I have been gifted, relationships. And my vision is that I've been able to gift these through our franchise agreement, our franchise program, to our franchisees, and that they're then able to find that same level of, and it's not always perfect, and it's definitely a grind sometime, but that same level of peace and satisfaction in what I'm getting to do, I'm getting to do work that matters while also spending time with the people that matter. And so I have that balance that matters to me, and that balance is different for me than it is for others, but that they can find the balance that matters for them. I think that's kind of that they're getting to kind of experience this and getting to leverage all of these relationships that we can bring together for the benefit of their family and their future and their legacy.
Yeah, that's I mean, I think that's what it's all about. I mean, it'd be funny. I don't know if we'll be around, but when Charlie's children and their children talk about their grandfather and great grandfather, I'd love to know what those stories are going to be. And then good stuff.
Yeah, I always say that what I hope for is that everybody out there that becomes a franchisee or becomes an epoxy technician gets my favorite experience in life, which is on a Sunday to load my kids up. I think they love it. They may hate it. I'm not exactly sure, but I load them all up. It's not every Sunday. We drive around and Dad brags on the things that he saved. He brags on the buildings that he saved. He brags on the way that he's helped I just go around. I'm like, see these windows over here, see this door over here. The homeowner was going to have to pay $20,000 to get that fixed. We fixed it for a fraction of that. And I drive around that, and I've been doing that for so long. I started that out, driving around showing them houses I'd built, and now I get to show them things I've saved. And so I just want everybody to have that experience because it's a really rewarding one.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's what makes entrepreneurship special. Unrelated. That's why wish entrepreneurs could run the country instead of politicians. But I mean, it's just lunacy. But Ty, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing everything that's ahead. And it's what a gift and pleasure for me, to have these conversations, because I love to think I'm doing this for other people. And then when we get off these, I'm like, boy, did I get such a benefit out of this. And for everyone watching, I appreciate that too. Ty, thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. It was really great.